Christianity, and then he studied Rosicrucianism and New Thought. And because when I got into these later chapters, he's even using science of mind terminology for things. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, like first cause and things like that.
Yeah, and the absolute.
Well, back then they didn't have, there weren't many books available, and they all read very much the same books. Christian Science and Mysticism by Evelyn Underhill and this Troward guy, and there were a bunch of. They just did the best they could, and if you're living up in Schenectady, New York, which is really way off the beaten track in a way,
you think?
It is, and he was actually he grew up in St. George. I mean, the Finger Lakes, I think, even smaller places, right?
Lake Luzerne.
Lake Luzerne. So way up in way up there
by Lake George.
Yeah. And he got into all of this early on.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, it's amazing to me because I was a Christian minister first, became a Mayor Baba follower, and then I didn't know what to do with my ministerial license, so I went to the Church of Religious Science, connected up with them, put my license there, and accepted their teachings, being the closest I could find to a very practical way to Mayor Baba. And I would go to Mayor Baba meetings, and they were just not into, this is back in the 90s. The Baba people were just not into a conscious understanding that they were Meher Baba.
Yeah.
And it was so odd to me, people would say, I'd say, how are you doing today? And they'd say, oh, I'm struggling with this, but it's Baba's will. And I'm going, from the religious science perspective, I'd say, in my mind, I'd say, that's all fine, but you're Meher Baba. Maybe a lot of this stuff you're suffering, you don't really need to deal with. And then I'd run back to religious science. It was kind of a back and forth. But this book is a gift from Meher Baba to me. It is putting both philosophies together.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed, I'm sorry to rant on.
Yeah, no.
I am amazed personally that Meher Baba was so good to me that even when the trend of my spiritual community, which was the Meher Baba world, was doing something else, he led me so graciously into another unfoldment of his spirituality, which everybody's getting into now. That's a very beautiful thing to me.
Yeah. I know this book has become popular. I mean, really, people are really drawn to this book. They've kind of had their family life, their kids, their house, their whatever, and now it's a little more of a contemplative phase, where you have the time to kind of focus on your inner life more exclusively, and it's really it was very timely.
Well, you know why it's a contemplative phase? When I look at the Meher Baba movement, the Meher Baba world, we were so attached normally and righteously, we were attached to the mandali. And that was the emphasis. We were just like getting teaching from them. And it's interesting to see now that Baba is putting us into, since they're all gone, advanced understanding of what we need to do now in expressing his presence and his love and his reality. Anyway, I'm ranting on, but I'm very excited about this book.
In fact, his mandala and close ones are back amongst us.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what Eric said. They're coming. They've already come back. So a lot of these people around us have just come from him, and they're rolling up their sleeves and ready to do the next phase for Bob.
Ready to do the next work. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It's really great to hear you ranting, Larry.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
We don't
I'm
mind
really-
it one bit.
Good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, actually. Thank you.
You know what? You know what? Gene used to do. Gene, like Darwin would kind of get on a very kind of inspired train of thought, and then Gene would say, "Now there he goes. He's up on the soapbox again," and he'd kind of like step down and bring it to a close. And we were like, "Oh, Gene, why did you do that?" You know.
Darwin would
Go ahead.
go like this.
What?
Darwin would go like that, sort of.
Yeah.
Groucho
Like
Marx.
smoking a cigar, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but hey, Mayor Priscilla, I located a quote because I looked ahead in the book, and one of the things that Darwin talked about was inertia and momentum, the importance of keeping your momentum and not, drop back into kind of an inertia as far as the inner effort being made. But this is one from Rumi. I liked it. I finally found it. He says, faith is the sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you to place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world. I like that. If you don't make the effort, you'll just kind of drift with the tide of the world, and you'll find yourself in a mall trying to buy something and getting a milkshake and fries. I want to say that you folks have, you speak so beautifully about your inner life with Baba that you've shared over the months here. I mean, very touching. And but yeah, so now these have been going on, it seems like for years, but it's only been a few months. But I don't know if I ever shared my meeting with Darwin and Jean Shaw, and I'll tell you that briefly. A buddy of mine, college buddy of mine, Ken Rickstad, and I headed out from Seattle, going east to visit some of our college buddies. And one of them lived in upstate New York called Rensselaerville. And while we were up there, we looked on the map, and Schenectady, the city of Schenectady, was kind of nearby. And we had heard that an elderly couple in Schenectady had met Baba. And so one day when we were driving around, we kind of felt prompted to call. And so we pulled over to the side of the road, a telephone booth. They don't have telephone booths anymore. I mean, Anthony Cortez doesn't know anything about telephone booths, No, but it used to be. So we went in there and we looked up Darwin Shaw. And then I got kind of cold feet. I thought, gee, they don't know us from Adam, but my buddy, he just went ahead and called, and he got Darwin on the phone, and Darwin said, come right over. So we went over there. Now, let me just describe this house to you. This house was like so charged with Baba's presence. It was like going into a children's book, a fairy tale of a children's book. I mean, it was like another world. They had meetings, the longest standing meetings, Baba meetings in this country, going all the way back to the mid-30s. And so this place was really drenched. But now, Jean was not real domestic. So there were pictures of Baba all over the refrigerator, and books piled up and everything. But the place was very comfortable, very, very homey. And I got the impression that Baba, this is one of the favorite places for Baba to hang out in. I mean, it was almost like the three of them, Baba and Jean and Darwin, would just hang out in their house. I mean, they really focused on Baba's companionship, and they had it. And you kind of got the palpable feeling that Baba's just there hanging out day after day. I'm sure he hangs out with everybody. So anyway, they shared for about 3.5 hours there's all these intimate experiences of being with Baba. We hadn't actually heard such, we hadn't heard so many, from so many people who had met Baba, not quite as intimately. And so then when we were leaving, we decided, hey, we don't have any particular destination. Why don't we just put our suitcases down here and we'll just move here. And Darwin got us some jobs at the county nursing home. And next thing we know, we were citizens of Schenectady, New York. And I was there for a number of years before Kitty asked me to move to Myrtle Beach. I was not attracted to Myrtle Beach, but it was the best thing that ever happened. Anyway, that's how I met this darling couple. They were just adorable. So, and Hugh, I know Hugh was there, and to see any of the other people that went to those meetings. Martha, you probably went, right?
Yeah, you described Darwin's house perfectly.
Oh, it was like a mythic place. Okay.
Maintaining our spiritual flow. You make the effort, and I will give you the victory. It is a divine struggle with purpose behind it. Meher Baba. Removing veils and moving to higher levels of consciousness is the spiritual path. And it is a slow process, requiring sharp attention. Meher Baba likens it to walking on the sharp edge, quote, on the sharp edge of a sword, end quote. It is a natural tendency for us to settle into a state of inertia, but when we do, we get crystallized in that state. As spiritual aspirants, we must climb out of that state and keep up the momentum of our inner life, of our inner working and spiritual longing.
Hey, Doug, why don't you go on to the next section?
Okay, which is maintaining momentum. Meher Baba is continuously working with each individual and our sanskaras to liberate us from our falseness within, to liberate our consciousness, to awaken us for good. For us, this means inner work and inner discipline and paying attention to everything. There must be no slack moments where we can fall off the edge of the sword. Baba would keep us on our spiritual toes to keep our momentum going with him by making promises to break his silence, assigning fasts, or telling us he was coming to visit. This would increase our enthusiasm, raise our vibrations, and create spiritual longing, which would produce a higher voltage in us. Sometimes he would even say things like, quote, I'm going to die in a few months, end quote. Baba was trying to deepen our feelings and bring us closer, trying to make us one-pointed in our focus on him. He did not mind that those things would not happen. He had achieved his purpose, which was to keep us awake so that we would not fall back into the dream of illusion. Baba says that when the river flows at a strong pace, it carries the silt. In other words, when we keep up a positive momentum, our sanskars are held in abeyance. When the momentum slackens, our sanskars attack us. When our spiritual momentum is at a low ebb, our sanskaras become obstructions, and we are at risk for spiritual viruses, close quote. But if we have steady spiritual momentum, then when our sanskaras assert themselves, we can more easily counteract them without putting them into action. We must dare to live at a higher level of consciousness and maintain the momentum of working on ourselves in order to experience those higher levels. We must work at inner levels to diminish egoism and at the same time be aware of light, aware of God working with us. As in chess, we learn which piece counteracts a blocking piece. We can even use the desire nature to get inspired. The desire for happiness can be enough to get things moving. Even being fed up with feeling negative or stuck can give us the momentum we need to get underway, to get moving inwardly. Like driving a car, we must keep our foot pushing on the pedal to keep our spiritual energy going and dare to shift out of first gear and into second gear, and then go on to the higher gears. At first, we tend to fall back and lose the experience. Eventually, we learn antidotes to everything that besieges us and pulls us back to lower levels of consciousness. Even after we see through the sanskaric veils, there is a period where the sanskaras still clamor due to the momentum of habit. We are changing our habitual paradigm, and this requires continuous renewing of our thoughts and feelings, continuous assertion of the truth, deep renunciation, and lightness of spirit at the heart level.
Wow. Any comments, any questions, anything?
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah.
What does inner discipline mean? I mean, it's the third line, I think, from the second or the third line. Inner discipline?
Well, it means, keeping that focus at the inner level, not giving in to, say, negative emotions and everything, being disciplined so you don't just fall into your normal reactions to things, but to try to wait and see what love has to say, what love would like to do, what we feel Baba would want.
Yeah.
It's done at a heart level as best we can. If we can do it at the heart level, rather than up at the level of the head. At the level of the head, it's kind of willpower. At the heart level, it's tuning into a more positive feeling as instead of going into the negative. Is that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like not just jumping at the first reaction, but pausing there and trying to choose a better way of responding. Yeah, I mean that's one way of describing it. Any?
So it could be like more like focusing on Baba than getting into all the nonsense.
Yeah, I mean definitely. If you can go
Yeah.
directly to Baba in
Yeah.
presence, you can diffuse a lot of reactions. But sometimes you have to kind of take something at hand that counteracts the negativity. There's a lot in our toolbox. We have to acquire a lot of things in our toolbox to deal with our inner reactions and our reactions to outer things. Yeah. But anybody want to add to that? Or anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Cindy had her hand up before.
Okay.
Hello, wonderful people. I had a question. Well, I wanted to reread. I'm going to reread this one paragraph, the first paragraph on 67, and then I have a question. Baba says that when the river flows at a strong pace, it carries the silt. In other words, when we keep up a positive momentum, let me turn off my phone there. When we keep up a positive momentum, our sanskaras are held in abeyance. When the momentum slackens, our sanskaras attack us. When our spiritual momentum is at a low ebb, our sanskaras become obstructions, and we are at risk for spiritual viruses. But if we have steady spiritual momentum, then when our sanskaras assert themselves, we can more easily counteract them without putting them into action. Well, first of all, I mean, that's just spectacular. Every word is spectacular.
Yeah.
Even the spiritual viruses, like what we're really at risk for in this time and space. But my question is, what does that really mean when sanskaras assert themselves and we can counteract them without putting them into action? And then what happens when our sanskaras assert themselves and we don't put them into actions? Do they dissolve? Do they unwind? Or they're just more silt held in abeyance?
Well, anybody else want to respond to her? Or, well, there are probably other hands that may have different subjects, but the things kind of die out from due to neglect. I mean, Baba says that, you know, just by not always going to say an angry response to things. After a while, if you don't do that, if you refrain from doing that, after a while, the sanskars that are inclined to go for a angry response start to die out from lack of attention, and more positive things start to emerge. So yeah, it's not like they're just kind of potentially there, just still hovering above you. Every time you make a decision to go with love, those things lose a little hold on our consciousness. Does that make
Beautiful.
sense? Yeah.
It does. Thank you.
You have a couple more hands up, Anthony.
Hi, Jeff. This passage was just incredible here. And what it brings up for me, it's so interesting. I remember when I first started reading Baba's material some years ago, and you know, it was hard to get a sense, you know, even reading God Speaks and discourses, you know, what we're actually supposed to be doing every day, you know, because it's almost like Baba doesn't come right out and say it, but you know, as the years went on, I think from hearing different stories of other Baba lovers and people like Darwin, you start to kind of see the inner life of how these people compose themselves from day to day. And even reading a lot of Erich's material, I still didn't get that complete sense of like, okay, like every day, exactly what am I supposed to be doing? And it's just amazing the sense that Darwin gives you of that, of just the level of seriousness, I guess, that we have to have with this, that it's really a almost like a constant consciousness that we have to maintain, you know, and to have practices that allow for that level of discipline and vigilance and awareness over every thought and emotion coming up and not going with those impulses and those reactions. So I guess it's kind of a question. Do you feel that too, that sometimes it's a little hard to get the sense of like really what it comes down to, the level of seriousness we have to have about this until you really read someone like Darwin? I mean, I've really never gotten the sense of it from anyone else except Darwin. I've just really had to get down there and do it.
Yeah, if you were around these guys, they were working 24 hours a day, but they loved doing it. You know, I mean, remembrance of Baba and working with their energy, keeping their spirits up. They were taking it seriously, not because they had to, just I mean, in the sense that that it was like a taking castor oil. They really were very proactive about maintaining their inner atmosphere, maintaining that that level of love in the heart and vitality. And you get addicted to it after a while, you know, because like I say, when the momentum slackens, then your sanskars start to crash in on you. So there's every reason to kind of keep plowing forward and staying kind of above of all of this stuff, because when the effort slackens, then the stuff tends to flow in on you. The more the heavier, kind of more the inertia. So yeah, you get, this is great in that Darwin gives you a tour. I mean, he gives you the I mean, he conveys the work and the kind of fun of the work. You know, it doesn't have to be something burdensome at all. It becomes an effortless effort.
I think it's such a beautiful gift that he has. He just has a way of articulating it that I remember that when I first read Discourses, I had that feeling, I guess in a little different way, of like, oh my God, like in this book, he is so spelled out everything so clearly, all these different elements of the spiritual path. And Darwin, I feel like he does that for the seeker, you know, for like how to, it's almost like a discourse is written right for the seeker of like how to approach the beloved. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, he's personalized what Baba has said in so many ways by his own experience that he's sharing. Yeah. Yeah, good.
As I was listening to this, I thought it was ironic that we're going through this time of COVID, which is a virus, and he talks about spiritual viruses. But I also think that during this time, some of our worst selves are brought up. I know with me, it has been because I'm dealing with a lot of chaos, external chaos, but it makes me very angry, and I'm not a person who gets angry easily. I don't know what the block is or how we're supposed to deal with that, but there are instances of anger, of fear, of all these things, and maybe this is Baba keeping us on our spiritual toes. And I'm not quite sure what the counteraction is, or he talks about a counterpiece as in chess. So I wasn't thinking more of the love. I was thinking of all those internal things about ourselves that we may not particularly like, that we go through when we're under a lot of stress or tension, especially during this time. It seems like the world is boiling with this. And, you know, how are other people coming up with counterpieces or antidotes?
Beautiful. Yeah. Anyone want to respond?
As I'm listening to Anthony and people speak, looking for a practice, it boils down to two words: be love. Be love. Be love. To have that awareness is to be, I think, in the kind of consciousness or the practice that Anthony was asking. What kind of practice do you have to do? And I think for me, maybe for others, is to be aware, to be love. And that needs no explanation. We can be love in our words. We can be love in our actions. As challenging as that is to sustain that. For example, Angela, the way she is, consistently, the way she kind of is the moderator and chooser, like the sergeant at the spiritual sergeant of arms. Or you, Jeff, the way you consistently are with a lot of equanimity and love. And other people who also participate and speak, but I see you two there's pretty cool examples of be love. And that's the practice, as difficult as it is, especially with this COVID challenge or other things that come up into people's lives. I can forget. I get into a whole thought of emotion. And if I'm able to notice that as soon as I do, I have a choice to go and be love. I can either be in the light or I can either be in the darkness. From darkness to light, from light to love divine. Be love.
Beautiful.
Just those two words, be love.
Yeah. I know it's definitely. I mean, in today, it's a steady battle with the impacts. But yeah, I'll just say that someone else is gonna. There's some other hands up, but I'll just mention one thing. There was a buddy of mine who was really kind of a depressed sort of a guy. We went to India, and he would kind of hang out with Baba's brother Jaw. And one day he was having lunch with him in Pune, and he said, Jaw, what is your secret? You know, you're so up-tempo, you're so cheerful, you have kind of such enthusiasm. What is your secret? And Jaw looked at him kind of very pointedly said, practice. You know, so it takes practice to be cheerful. And so someone who can answer what Elizabeth said about the how to work with antidotes for dealing with the fears and the anger and everything that come up. So let's see.
I had some hands up before that
Yeah.
question came up, but we'll see what you have to say. Jack, go ahead.
Excuse me. Yeah, everything that has been said is pretty right, right on. My feeling is that, in a sense, Darwin has set up an almost impossible task, A, to begin with. B, I find myself most times doing that, but many times not. And then I get into free will and predestination because they play a part in all of this. And I finally came to the realization that there's no sense really fighting it. It's more like just giving into the moment of what's happening. And if you're angry, you're angry. You know, let it go. Or if you find yourself doing something that you really never intended to do, and you do it, and after the fact, what can you do but ask for forgiveness and move on? And that's the predicament that I constantly find myself in, this play of the opposites. And I know there's no way out of it except through his grace. So I just leave it to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
And Douglas.
Yeah, I was struck also by that sentence around we learn antidotes to everything that besieges us. And I was thinking, I guess as Elizabeth was also, okay, so what are the antidotes? And so far, be love is an antidote. I have found out in my life also that to remember to come back to that place in the heart and to feel that. But in certain moments, and this is where practice comes in, particularly I find in close, intimate relationships, and particularly at this time of being in and being with your partner so much, it stirs and pokes at a lot of places that are provocative. And the practice that I'm struggling with is just that, is learning to remember, learning to, in the moment of pain, of feeling lost emotionally inside, that place has to be met with a lot of practice. So I guess what I'm moving into recognizing is that, in fact, as Jack was just saying, do your best and keep practicing and leave to God the rest.
Good. Yeah. No, and it does get better.
Hi. Yeah, lots of stuff is getting stirred up, negative and positive. But you know, I always thought that you know, you had to be purposeful with it. And Baba says, right, the quote of Baba right in the beginning: "You make the effort, and I will give you the victory." It is a divine struggle with purpose behind it. And I've gotten stirred up a heck of a lot of negative this period, especially. And somehow I thought maybe the purpose of all this coming up is for it to be, you know, wiped away. Like Baba would take his divine disinfecting spray with COVID and just, you know, wipe it away. And thinking that kind of helped me stay in the flow. I can't explain it, because there's a spiritual flow, and maybe if we use the negative that comes up, even in intimate relationships, which is really painful, as a leverage, or you know, to get back in the flow and just be natural with ourselves. That's one thing I've learned about this period of time, is to let it not be reactive if I can help it, but just be responsive and acknowledge what's going on. And I don't know, the last week I've been feeling that if I stay purposeful, somehow when something happens in the present moment, it feels really old. It's sort of like old sanskars, or here you go, Heidi, this is old stuff, get rid of it. You know, I'm gonna help you get back, feel it, and get back on track. So I love this chapter, because Darwin gives us so much naturalness and practical use and purposefulness in what our mission is and what we're trying to do, which is deepen with Baba, deepen our heart. So that's,
Yeah.
you know.
Well said. Very well. Well, you people speak so beautifully.
All right, Janet Jacobs.
I was thought when Jack spoke and the earlier speaking about being love, I was thinking about be loved. And I was thinking about so many stories that I've heard of the people who met Baba and they had his embrace. And all the ones I've heard, they said, you know, they felt completely 100% accepted for all of whom they were. You know, it wasn't cutting out any piece of the puzzle. And I mean, not that I think Darwin has said this at some time, it isn't that you try to make mischief, you know, I mean, the mischief comes, but I thought in another way, for me, what helps is to feel loved. So to be loved, for me first, in some ways, I have to accept Baba's love for me, for all of who I am, for, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that in being cocooned, maybe, in Baba's loving embrace of all of who I am, gives me the strength, gives my psyche or my heart the strength to move forward in the positive way that we're speaking of, or what I'm guessing, you know. So that's what I have to add. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, go to Baba. If you can go directly to Baba and get that love, that's the direct way, and that's the best. Not always, you know, but sometimes it's hard to swim back upstream there. So we have to kind of go into what I call plan B.
Yeah, right.
What's the best response? What's the best bad response I've got?
Exactly. Well, I mean, but even feeling that, even when I'm having the bad response, which I am a lot. I mean, I just have to say, when I'm having the bad response, not feel like that is cut out from Baba's loving
Right.
me.
Exactly.
That he loves through all that. And so I feel that sense of being accepted for who I am. The anger, I mean, not that I want to perpetuate that. I'm not saying that, of course. I mean, those aren't feelings that I enjoy, or fear is my big one. And it's certainly not something that I enjoy having. But if I feel vulnerable, if I let myself feel vulnerable enough to say, you know, Baba's here with me and loving me in this vulnerability, in this fear that I'm having, that then I'm not trying to push things outside my, I mean, the sanskar is like, okay, you're bad. I'm more like, I mean, and I'm not, I don't know this that well, but I'm being more accepting of, or I just feel that sense of, like I said, those people who talk about getting Baba's embrace, like Anne Conlon, and I can't remember some others that I've just heard too say the same. You know, that there was nothing within. Oh, I know, Jean Shaw, Darwin's daughter, says that too. I think that they felt so completely 100% accepted for who they were, nothing left out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and accepting Baba's unconditional love for us. Which,
Yeah.
to actually experience that more and more makes life a heck of a lot easier.
Right. I mean, it's easier for me personally, it's easier to say be loved than be loved, because love is, I don't know exactly what love means a lot of the time, but be loved, that's something that is more of a visceral, of a body felt experience for me.
Beautiful. Yeah, wonderful, Janet.
And Mayor's friend.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I guess I'm looking for some very practical advice, you know, like tools. So, you know, when you're in the grip of negative emotion, what's like a good fix it for that? Because I sometimes, like, I'm just so in it, I just can't think of anything else.
Okay, anybody?
Meher Prasad.
Yeah, I raised my hand before Tina's question, but I wanted to say a little bit about Darwin's sentence on when the momentum slackens or sanskaras attack us. I face that every day, especially after I wake up, because, you know, at night, basically there is no momentum. So in the morning when I wake up, you know, they have this terrible disinterested mood, not interested in really doing anything. And the antidote that worked for me was to give that mood to Baba. And over time, Baba has actually helped me with a better antidote, where he helped me to realize that it's a better thing to say it is Baba going through that mood. So when I think to myself, it is Baba going through this mood, it has helped me significantly. And I think Baba himself will help us with these antidotes if we try enough. And, you know, Baba himself went through those moods in the 60s where he was utterly disappointed, you know, disinterested and kind of in a depressed mood. And remembering all of that really helps, especially during the early part of the morning when you wake up, when I wake up. It is so hard. I mean, those moods haven't gone away, but dealing with those have become a little bit easier.
Yeah. Well said, Mayor Prasad. Yeah. Yeah. Any
Ruth?
Yeah, just kind of short and sweet. I think for me, I'm so grateful for Silence Day. It was like an oasis from all of what has been occurring. My husband and I just got into a natural flow. We were dancing. I mean, it had, Baba just moved through that day with us in such a way that I'm so grateful to talk about it. And that is what has helped me with the anger and with the fear and with all the things that my sanskaras bring forth. It's like he just cleaned the slate for me for one day. Well, good heaven, who could ask for more? I don't know how long I can hold on to this, but I'm holding on to this feeling because it has that cleansing effect for me, and I'm very grateful. So that's what I got.
Good. And Larry's very happy about that too.
And Elizabeth.
Yes, I guess I'm still coming back to that same paragraph because of what the person who talked right before Ruthie. It's the same kind of thing. Can I just read that again? Because certain other words were catching me, like the silt and it says, Baba says that when the river flows at a strong pace, it carries the silt. In other words, when we keep up a positive momentum, our sanskaras are held in abeyance. When the momentum slackens, our sanskaras attack us. When our spiritual momentum is at low ebb, our sanskaras become obstructions, and we are at risk for spiritual viruses. But if we have steady spiritual momentum, then when our sanskaras assert themselves, we can more easily counteract them without putting them into action. So I guess going back to the same thing, the fear, the whatever comes up. And I mean, it's like Baba sometimes I think pushes our buttons and we're in situations that are very frustrating, which is what I experienced this past week through floods and painters and all kinds of people coming in and making me more afraid of this virus than I normally would and putting me on edge. And then my responding with anger, which I usually don't do. I'm usually not an angry person. But it's kind of scary to think that somehow that the momentum slackened and then my sanskaras or our sanskaras attack us. And so you're just kind of being unconscious. And when your consciousness is not focused for that minute, for that moment, for that circumstance, for those interactions, that's when there's a problem. And then, so I was feeling when people were talking about being love and all of that, I mean, I think of myself as a loving person. I was thinking, oh my gosh, these people can do this and I can't. I'm like a failure at this. And, so anyway, what is the silt and what does it mean by the momentum slowing? And I don't know. I'm just sorry. I'm hung up on that paragraph.
Yeah, no, but you can feel, like, say, if you go to India or come to the center, sometimes you can feel your momentum start to build up from within. And so it's doing that when you're back in your home, try to focus, at the heart level and build up that vitality and momentum so that things don't stick to you. You got enough centrifugal force that things are thrown off and they don't, but when you're, I know when I'm in a lowered state, I start bumping into things, I get a little short-tempered and all of that, and I have to go and build up my inner momentum so that that type of emotional reactions and thoughts don't come crowding in on me. I have to work from the inside.
Well, I thought that idea of the provisional personality, taking on the provisional personality, was a helpful way of doing this, saying Baba is experiencing this. And if Baba is experiencing himself, his own God consciousness through each of us, then each of us has a role that we're playing in that. I just hate to think of myself as, getting angry like that. Or, I mean, I guess I just want to be so good. And then when you find out you're not, anyway, I suppose it just means more work. But I want to also say that I agree with Ruthie. I started watching the Silence Day programming that was coming out of Circle of Friends yesterday at 11 in the morning, thinking I'd just listen to Charles Haynes talk. I listened all day till 11 o'clock. It was amazing and was very helpful. I think I took a few breaks of an hour and a half, but each I mean, I couldn't get over the, especially the videos of the early Western women disciples going to Europe and Genoa and then to Portofino, and I had never seen some of those videos before. And then there was so much more. I mean, I just want to say that I'm sure that was very helpful. And I did not expect to have a silence day that was very unique because I was staying at home away from everybody. But that was just so fabulous because I felt so connected to people in India as well as all over the United States. So I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, Baba, there's been some hands since you shared that. Meher's friend.
I just was thinking of something that has helped me, so I'm going to answer my own question. I want the practical tools. To call somebody else and ask them how they're doing, or send them flowers, or, send them a gift. It really takes the attention off yourself. And they're usually pretty appreciative too. So creates a flow of good feelings.
Yeah. Sublimate it, yeah.
Yeah. Ann and Betty?
You're unmuted. Okay. Hi, it's Betty. So I'm looking at this first little quote of Meher Baba's in italics. You make the effort and I will give you the victory. And I've really been experiencing that recently. I don't know how much diligent, hard effort I make. I try to lean into love, and I think my effort is devotion and longing. It's just the central definition of my being. And that, I believe that to a large extent is my effort. And the victory has been coming recently. In the last month, there have been a lot of family issues within my relationships with my ex-husband, who's the father of my 4 children. We've been divorced for, 28 years. And all of the children and myself. And all of these issues that have been coming up have plagued me for so many years, and I have suffered from that. So I believe, because of my devotion and my longing and my daily commitment to love and to Baba, increasingly to Baba, I'm happy to say, I believe the victory is being given me because it's just flowing into my consciousness, the reality, rather than the stories I've been making up in my head about all the family dynamics. And it's like a spotlight is being shown on all of those stories, and I see them for what they are, and they vanish. And I receive the victory, I receive the freedom, and amazing things are happening. And I feel it directly from Baba. I'm grateful in saying it. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, Betty. Wow. No, that's all this is how Baba works beautifully in our lives.
Good to see everybody. Well, first of all, thank you, Betty. That was beautiful. Could really feel that. And after that, but I feel like that's the whole book. It's you make the effort and I will give you the victory. That's the whole essence of the book, right? And I was just going to mention that I've been experiencing like some old things coming up, as several have mentioned, and they're like little capsules that have been, like, it's like at the time I couldn't deal with them, and so I just must have covered them up, and I maybe worked with it for a while, and then I put it back in, and now they're popping up again, but I think that I'm more able to handle these old sanskaras. And sometimes I wonder, should I even open the capsule? Or mostly probably just give it to Baba. Just give it to Baba most of the time, right? But they do appear very clearly, and I see the beginning or the edge of the fear. It's mostly fear, I think, in these particular capsules. Not anxiety. Anxiety is a picnic compared to fear. Mm-hmm. But when fear is really coming up, like, of course, I put it in a capsule, you know, because you just can't cope. You can't move on with it. So I think Baba is believing me ready to deal with this. I'm stronger now than I once was. And the strength, the more strong I am, it's exactly commensurate to how much my capacity is to stay focused on him, on love. And that's been growing over years. I mean, don't even realize it, you know. And then, of course, things like effort and grace, it's a wonderful focus. And I'm realizing also that it's not how many programs I go to, because there's so much now going on. It's how much of my heart I can bring to each experience. It's not how long I pray with Baba, but if I can sit with him for 5 minutes, and he's my friend and he's there with me, you know. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Darwin used to say, the deeper the feeling, the deeper the healing. So to go sometimes deep into those things and then give them to Baba. But yeah, like you say, sometimes give it to Baba, and if and you don't necessarily have to open everything up and look at it. Sometimes he'll just take it as it is, unexplored. But sometimes you have to go deep into it. I've found in my own life.
Okay, am I on? Yes. I'm going to the last paragraph because I'm seeing something that is kind of exciting. It says, even after we see through the sanskaric veils. And then I'm looking for how do we feel or know that we're looking through the veils? And I'm guessing it must be lightness of spirit. So the first part of this paragraph and the last part, lightness of spirit at the heart level, would indicate that you're seeing through the veils. But does anyone else have an experience of that? I would probably, for myself, I define it as looking past the patterns. Like, oh yeah, I had this and I had that, and I'm not doing either. I'm going straight forward through those patterns as if they're something in my way, and I just thread between them. But I guess, of course, that would give us a lightness of spirit. If we're like, okay, I can just go right through. So does anyone have any other experiences about seeing through the veils?
Anybody can respond to what Julie's asking?
A little bit to that. I like Julie's comment. It was very apt. I'm going to read that little paragraph again. Even after we see through the sanskaric veils, and I don't know about you, but in my life, I have had that experience where I have had a belief, a thought about myself that has formed my personality, and working with it and working with Baba in it, there is finally a release of that veil. And it's like sitting in not a movie theater, but one of the old theaters. And you remember when these theaters used to have curtains that opened and closed. As a kid, I was amazed that, oh, there's not only one curtain, there's two and there's three. They had some quite extravagant movie theaters in the past, if you remember. And to me, it's that point of consciousness where I no longer believe the false beliefs that I have. And it is that experience, that clearing. And then I've noticed, as it goes on, it says, there's a period when the sanskaras still clamor due to the momentum of habit. And I can feel myself moving beyond a false belief about myself, and then getting to the point where I think I'm over it, but then it kind of shows up again. And I have to realize that that is not because I haven't dealt with this, but I'm just experiencing the momentum of habit, and my whole disposition is used to whatever that was. We are changing our habitual paradigm. And this requires, and this is a very important thing that Darwin is pointing out, it requires continuous renewing of our thoughts and feelings, continuous assertion of the truth, deep renunciation, and lightness of spirit at the heart level. And that's really important, is to renew your mind. Thinking about my Christianity, in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, it says, be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. And so one of the things I've done in my life is, with the renewing of my thoughts and feelings, the continuous assertion of truth daily. And when I try to live with Baba, Baba said, don't ask him for anything. And I don't. I just declare what Baba is doing in my life. So if I wake up and I'm depressed, I don't do what the normal person would do and say, oh, Baba, I'm depressed today. I need you to make me happy. I don't ask Baba for that. I renew my thoughts and I assert the truth. So when I'm feeling depressed, I say, I know I am an expression of Meher Baba. This depression, or this little blue feeling that I'm feeling this morning, the truth is, I am expressing Meher Baba, and I'm expressing his personality of love, joy, peace, happiness. And then if it requires me to put music on and to dance, or to sing, or to read poetry, or whatever, I have to renew my mind. That's my responsibility. And if I do that, this river of Meher Baba's presence, I open that river up by what I'm doing with my mind. I open that river up so that Baba can just flow. I remove the dams so Baba can flow and pick up all this silt and just get it out. I'm ranting again, but that's what I do.
I loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful.
One of the things that this discussion is making me think of, and in relation to this word continuous in this last paragraph, is there is really like an important time element to continually consider when it comes to this maintaining a spiritual momentum, because and it's sometimes more than others, I guess, because there's been certain times in my life where, I'll just be on this wave, I'll do like, a practice of some sort for 30 minutes, or like take a walk in nature and think about God, or look at Baba's picture, or just do something that feels very centering and sort of increases that spiritual momentum. And then I can just kind of ride that for an indefinite amount of time. And it's always just kind of random when it happens like that, and feels very much so like grace. But more and more so, and I don't know if this has to do with aging or life circumstance or what, but, it feels like a lot more just continual checking in with Baba, and body, mind, and spirit is required like almost every day to an amazing extent. Like, I just can't believe sometimes how fickle my emotions and mind are. And so, for instance, like recently, a regular part of my practice has been to meditate for 30 minutes every morning. And sometimes I'll be outside and I'll hear the birds, and it'll just be, and I'll just feel like really connected and, just very like positive about the way that the day is going. But then, sometimes all it takes then is going into the kitchen, and my poor dear partner Alexander, like maybe he will have like forgotten to put water out for our house rabbit or something. And the snap to like just feeling so frustrated about just this one just fairly like small thing or another is just can happen so quickly. And the contrast between like these moments of really feeling peace in Baba's presence and not are just, they're so stark and seem to sort of be even more contrasted just like within this current world climate and just all of the hard things that are going right now on and sort of like this plane of the world. So anyways, yeah, that's always when that switch happens for me, it's always just like very humbling and a good reminder that there's no such thing as like returning back to Baba or to breath or to all of that too much. There's no such thing as sort of doing that remembrance too much.
Right. No, I think we can all relate to what you go through and like that, where you're in a nice expansive state and then something comes along and knocks you off kilter, and then you have to kind of get that expansiveness again, and then it gets lost, and it does get better and better over time.
It's about the comment about that Julie asked about lightness of spirit at the heart level. For me, I've been trying to be, when I feel something, I just give it to Baba as a gift to him. And I've been noticing sometimes all of a sudden something will happen and I'll feel like a kid again. My sense of smell will become so good. I'll feel, and I just thought about, I was waiting, for you to, see my hand. It's like being born again. It really is, feeling like a young kid, fresh, no problem. So that was my answer for this person, Julie Ainsberg, about lightness of spirit at the heart level. But it's not continuous. It just comes and then all of a sudden goes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Shall I go on to something is happening then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make something happen.
Great concentration is needed to let go of our paradigm, to drop our habitual ego definitions and pierce our sanskaric veils. In letting go, strong bindings are loosened at the heart level, and powerful energies are released. We break through to the level of energy, the subtle realm, which produces inner vision. We perceive true values in light. As more energy begins to pour into our consciousness, a centrifugal force becomes established within, which repels the invasion of unwanted sanskaras and old habit patterns and precipitates our consciousness into the realm of energy. We sustain a higher voltage, a higher vibration and velocity of consciousness. We experience buoyancy and some degree of inner freedom. This is meant to be permanent and will gradually happen after we uproot the habitual paradigm. We also experience an awareness of the need for, quote, controlled progress, end quote. In other words, the need to place ourselves under the guidance of the master who can take us safely past the pitfalls of the higher realms. So keep the spiritual flow going like running water through pipes in winter so they do not freeze. Put the external on automatic. Let it take care of itself. Inwardly, we must not relax on our oars and start drifting. To stand still is to go back. There is no resting point. Meher Baba says, without consciously knowing it, the aspirant is gradually arriving at self-knowledge by traversing the inner path through his joys and sorrows, his happiness and suffering, his successes and failures, his efforts and rest, and through his moments of clear perception and harmonized will, as well as the moments of confusion and conflict, end quote. So, Darwin continues, even if we do not think we are making any progress in the midst of experiencing all these opposites, something is happening. We are moving forward. Okay. Thank you.
It reminds me a little bit of when you're swimming in the ocean, or there's a place I go in a river where the current is strong, and you're swimming, and you don't get anywhere, or you even get pushed backwards. When I first read that, it was like, oh no, but the last reassuring sentence, we are moving forward, is reassuring, because we might feel like we're just pushing against the current, but actually we're moving forward, even though we can't always experience it as a moving forward. I was just talking myself from feeling despair to to feeling positive.
Yeah, it's interesting. In reading this book, we've come back to it, and we get a whole different set of insights from it, and it's because inwardly we're not in the same place that we were a year back. Because, and Darwin really stressed this, that we are actually moving along, but we're so absorbed in our responses in the immediate situation, we don't actually see the movement that's going on behind it. Like a child, you can, if you're the uncle and you only see the kid every 6 months, or, you see, wow, the kid is really grown. But the parents who are with the child day in and day out, they don't really notice any dramatic change in the kid. It's kind of like that.
And Daniel Stone.
Yeah, a couple of comments about this section. This is a very unusual section, the way I read it. And Jeff, I'd like to hear your comment about what I'm going to
Yeah.
say. I want to make two comments before you respond, though. The first is, when I read this, I read it that he's talking, he may well be talking about the first plane of consciousness here, just to say. I mean, this is when he talks about going into the subtle realm, breaking through to the level of energy, um, and a number of things he says in here is really consistent with saying that he's talking about entering into that first plane of consciousness. And I don't know if Darwin ever talked about that or whether you had any sense about that, but I'm really struck by this because I've not seen this anywhere else in this book, or generally the only other person I know that talked about that so explicitly amongst people close to Baba that I heard was Bao in the Avatar of the Age Meher Baba manifesting, saying that when Baba broke his silence, he would be essentially cutting a hole in the doorway to the first plane and making that possible and drawing people possible to enter that plane. So I'm just curious about your take on that, Jeff, because it seems fairly clear to me in this. Actually, I have another comment about this, but I think I'll hold it and let you comment on it.
Okay. Darwin talked about this. It's like the idea is you're drawing upon the energy, the creativity from other realms within us. I mean, you can be on the gross plane and be getting inspiration from much deeper levels within. So that, like Baba said about Francis Brabazon, about the book Stay with God, Baba says Francis Brabazon's written a 6-plane book and he's just on the gross plane. So it's possible to tap in to channel deeper levels that we would associate with the higher planes through the certain creativity that comes into a piece of music or a poem, that we're drawing not just from what's at hand at the gross level. We are actually drawing some of that inspiration and creativity from the higher levels or deeper levels, you might say, while still remaining right here at the gross level. So I mean, because Darwin would say, that people there, they don't realize that they're accessing deeper things without even knowing it. People are, I mean, he would say that people are accessing things from the subtle plane or the mental plane, and they don't even know it.
So, Jeff, let me just point one other sentence out here that to me is also consistent with what I'm saying, though,
yeah,
which I'm finding interesting. It's the sentence in the third paragraph, second sentence. It says, "Put the external on automatic," and let it take care of itself. That's also what Baba said is characteristic of people that are on the higher planes, is that on the external level, meaning on the gross level, things just happen. They're not really their consciousness isn't really functioning on that level. It just happens on that level because consciousness is absorbed in the higher consciousness. I think it's a pretty extraordinary set of paragraphs myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when you're in a creative mood, how many things just come to you, and it all unfolds very automatically. And you're kind of a stenographer. You're taking dictation as the stuff is coming through, and it's the external level is just surrendering to the inspiration that's coming to you from within. Or you can rise and to save somebody's life in a way that you normally would not be physically capable of doing it. But you dive in and you rescue someone from from the ocean, and this energy comes, and this great energy comes that's beyond where you normally are. So we're vehicles in many ways to beautiful things that come through. That's the sense I gathered from Darwin. We don't necessarily have to be conscious of those realms. We can just receive what comes from those realms as it's channeled into our lives. But anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I gathered.
Larry?
Yes, I just want to make a little tiny comment there, because I thought that too, but then I thought, because I was thrilled, I thought, oh, I'd go into the first plane and deal with energy. But in the section before, when it says we are changing our habitual paradigm, and this requires continuous renewing of our thoughts and feelings and continuous assertion of the truth, deep renunciation, and lightness of spirit at the heart level, you are working with energy right there on the gross level. You are entering into that whole energy thing right there, because the renewing of your thoughts is creating new energy. I just wanted to slip that in.
Yeah. Yeah, Darwin used to say, don't think of yourself so much as a base of operations. Think of yourself as a conduit or a vehicle. That's most people, they take their life as, I'm in charge of this life and this is my base of operations. And he was more for letting go of that paradigm, which is the worldwide paradigm, and think of yourself as a conduit, as a vehicle. Things are coming through you and not from you. And if you can get into that place, as Darwin said toward the end of his life, everything happens automatically, and then you get to just focus on Baba while your gross world is taken care of for you. It just all happens automatically. But that's a postgraduate level. You know.
That certainly happened to the Mandali, because they, in their older lives, Baba provided for their external life. They were taken care of by people. He had his own retirement program in a way.
Yeah.
The must program too.
With that?
The must program too.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Great question, Daniel. Jeff, wanted to just expand on what Daniel was asking. Is it your understanding that aside from the intermittent bursts of energy and inspiration that you might get from the inner planes, is it possible that in a certain spiritual state, that experience of the energy of, first and second plane, the subtle world, does that become a permanent thing? Or even though you're not on the planes, the experience of the energy of the planes becomes permanent and not just a little burst that you get in creative moments?
Yeah, I think you those get awakened in you as permanent qualities. But you don't pay any mind to it. In other words, if you're a vehicle, you're not in there regulating things. It's kind of coming through you.
Yeah.
But Adi, back in the 70s when we were there in India, Adi said, if you're a Baba lover, he said it's best to be on the gross plane. He said if you get advanced and everything, Baba has to bring you down, and it causes great suffering to bring you down, because you get used to a very expansive world, and he's got to bring you down to a very dense, gross world to be able to live here at the street level and not, this is what he said. In other words, if for a Baba person, it's good to be at the gross level. If you get advanced, I'm just repeating his words. He has to bring you down if you're a Baba lover, and that entails great suffering.
So that's if you were to actually get onto the planes versus staying in the gross world and just getting in the energy of the planes.
So it's all right to be just a gross character, But, well, here's another thing that might clarify it. Baba gave, I mean, Irwin told me this from Baba, that there's there are two ways that Baba that you can go through the plains. One is, he said, suppose you have to take down a tree, a huge tree. Now you can chop it, you know, the top 10 feet and then come down another 10 feet, and gradually you go down to the base of the tree. That's like going through the on the spiritual path consciously. But Baba's way is you have this tree here, and what he does is he introduces termites into the tree. So the whole interior of the tree gets eaten out. And to all intents and purposes, it looks like a functioning tree, but you, at a certain point, you can just go up and kick the whole thing over because it's just held there by bark. So the hollowing out was the method that the Mandali talked about. He hollows you out rather than going consciously through the plains, so that you're a shell, and then the life, Baba's love and everything comes through you.
I just want to make one comment here for folks.
Sure.
I've just been reading a new book that just came out. So, and we're talking about the plains, and I just think folks who are interested in this would find it interesting, by Bob Mossman and Farshid Namarinian, called The Boys, which is a really, really interesting book about the experience of 3 of the boys from the Prem Ashram that Baba gave experiences of the plains to. That it addresses some of the questions like the one that Anthony, you just asked about, you know, what is the continuity of the experience of the plains, like that. It goes into quite a bit of depth around that kind of stuff. So you might want to check that out.
Yeah, it's a new book out.
Brand new book.
Yeah.
I wanted to share a quick other thing, and I don't know if this helps anybody to hear this. You know, just leading up to becoming a Baba lover, I've been a resident out at Temple of the Universe for about 15 years. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Michael Singer and the Untethered Soul, but he's very into Baba, and he knows Buzz Connor. He's donated to the center for years, and I never knew the link between them. And the Untethered Soul is an amazing book. It doesn't talk about any type of spiritual paradigm or beliefs, but just the general process of cleansing the sanskaras and the heart. And what Michael or Mickey, for the entire time I've been out here, his teaching he constantly tries to get out there is, the more you let go of your reactions to things, the more you let go of yourself, the more you surrender to the master, the more you allow your heart to cleanse, what you used to know as yourself and your personality will be replaced by this flow of energy that he always calls it the Shakti. And he's like, you will become the Shakti instead of yourself. And I mean, he's literally said the same thing for the 15 years I've been out here. And I don't get the feeling like he's on the plains or anything, but without a doubt, the feeling of being around him, you can tell he's plugged into like an electricity, and, you know, he barely sleeps anymore, barely eats. And you can just tell there's like a current that's always there. So that's why when I hear Darwin talking about this, it's just adding this clarity to like, wow, I wonder if that's what Mickey's been trying to tell us. And it's, you know, it's no esoteric techniques of like, oh, try to, you know, do this technique to get to this higher state of consciousness. It's more of like, you know, the more you surrender yourself, your personality and your reactions is replaced with this energy. So.
Yeah. Wonderful book too.
Yeah,
one thing that he said about Baba, he said, a friend of mine had worked there for about 7 years, and he was going to Mehrabad for about 3 months, and he was kind of a little bit shy about bringing it up with Mickey Singer. And, you know, he said, well, I'm going there because Mickey says it's all, you can stay right here. It's all here. But he said, no, I'm going to Mehrabad. That's where Meher Baba's tomb is. And Mickey Singer said, well, you know, he's the one looking after all of us.
Wow.
Bob, what a beautiful way to describe Bob. He's the one looking after all of us.
Wow.
Anyway, we better, I think we're coming up to now here's what, if anybody wants to stay on, I think Stu Baker is still here. If anybody wants to do the heart-centered meditation, it's very, you know, it's like putting some of this into practice. It's a short meditation, but it can be very powerful and beautiful, and you're all invited to stay on after we have a few moments of silence. Angela, anything else?
No, we're good. All the hands are wrapped up.
Okay, so let's have a few moments of silence, folks. Yeah, thank you, Baba. So, yeah, if anybody wants to stay on, okay.
Stuart, I don't see your video.
It's not working.
I see that.
So I'm hiding.
Hi, it's Cindy. I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just been to like spiritual Disney World and just rode Space Mountain today. And I'm so grateful that all I need to do is let Baba take care of it, let the external take care of itself, and just this hollowing out process, as painful as can be, sometimes it just feels delightfully free to give all the pain and pleasure, everything to Baba, and just love. So it was all that supernova energy during this past hour and a half to come back to, don't worry, be happy in my love, I will help you.
Yeah. No, it's reinforcing and confirming all the things that we kind of know deep down. Yeah.
And it's kind of perfect that it's Dooney Day today. It's a perfect day. We saw that beautiful Dooney this morning. Yeah.
It's true, Rosalie. Throw it on the fire.
Is this a Sherry or press book, The Boys?
I guess it is. I don't know who printed it. Published it. Don't know.
Yeah, it's on Sherry-R. I just saw it.
Okay. Yeah.
I just saw it. Thank you.
So whenever anything calms down here, if anybody wants to do this very heart-centered meditation, I find it very useful, and it's like putting into practice, bringing Baba in to the heart, and it's lovely. So any other comments, or shall we have Stu lead us?
Okay, well, thank you, J. Bob, everybody. So I'll ask everybody to close their eyes and just settle into where you're sitting, and we'll leave the world a little more for this time. And take some good, deep, slow breaths into your belly. And picture your heart and your heart area, your heart center. And this is the home of infinite love from Meher Baba. It's in all of us and around us and beyond us. And it's the home of divine magic. So breathe into your heart center. And take note of what you might feel and see there. And again, it's the home in you of infinite love. And let's keep taking slow, full breaths into our bellies. And now think of somebody, a person or a group who you would like to send infinite love to. And it could be someone you know is struggling. It could be somebody you're having a conflict with. And it could just be somebody you'd really love to share this focused gift of infinite love with. And picture them, use your imagination and get a good image and breathe into that image. And picture their heart center. And take note of what you might feel and see in picturing them inside. And breathe into the image you have and seeing and feeling their heart center. And now start to picture infinite love, Baba's infinite love, flowing into them and their heart and heart center. And you might experience this in different ways. I usually see like a liquid golden light, just gently and richly flowing in. And see this infinite love, this healing, soothing, forgiving, inspiring love, just filling their heart all the way to the bottom and the back and overflowing. This divine gift of Baba's love. And breathe into the flow of this love into them and their heart center. And see the infinite love just soothing, healing, lifting them and overflowing and going all the way through them, through every part of them. And you never know what this love can do. It really is a divine gift. And as you picture whoever you're sending the love to, just take note if you see any change in them or in yourself. And let's keep breathing into this flow of love, and we'll picture it for another moment. And know that you can come back here again and again. And it can actually be quite helpful if you do revisit sharing this. And now let's give thanks to Baba for this gift of divine love and being able to put our focus into it. And the wonder of the healing nature of it. So let's bid farewell for now to whoever you've been sharing the love with, and gently bring your attention back to your own heart and your heart space. And notice what you see and feel. And breathe into your heart, picturing your heart. And now start to see the infinite divine love from Meher Baba flowing into your heart and your heart space. That healing, soothing, forgiving love, inspiring love. And see it filling your heart, touching every bit of your heart inside. And cleansing and brightening. And breathe into the flow of that love and see it overflowing. And flowing through your whole being, every bit of you. And breathe into this divine gift of infinite love. and experience it. And let's see this love flowing for another moment. And keep gently breathing into it. And notice now what you might see and feel. And now let's give thanks to Mayor Baba for the gift, the incredible gift of his divine love. And know that you can come back here too again and again. And now let's gently bring your awareness back to where you're sitting. And your surroundings, and when you're ready, open your eyes and take it a moment or two to allow yourself to adjust back. Okay. So, Jeff, you with us?
Yeah, I'm halfway here. Partly here.
Yeah.
Anyone want to share anything, or just feel free? It's very expansive for me.
I was beautiful, and with my ex-husband, my children, the feeling of love and Baba's energy just in their heart centers. And at the very end, we were all in Baba's heart, but he was just holding them away from me. He said, we're all together. He's just his purpose. He's holding them away from me. And that was just the sweetest and excruciating feeling as well. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Cindy.
You know, Jeff, I felt happy when you were talking about the tree and the termites.
Yeah.
I felt that what you were doing, Stuart, was a little bit of hollowing out of that meditation. It felt like somewhat of a hollowing out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm really glad you experienced that, Janet.
Well, I'm not saying a full hollowing out, Stuart. I said we have a couple termites now working.
Yeah.
No, but your description was lovely. Yeah.
There's a line from Prophet Muhammad where he says, the heavens and earth cannot encompass me, but the heart of my sincere lover can hold me.
Can you repeat it, Jeff?
This is Prophet Muhammad. The heavens and earth cannot contain me, but the heart of my sincere lover can hold me. So the heart can hold the whole, the infinite and the infinite love.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've said before that Darwin regularly did heart meditations himself.
Yeah. Anyone else? We're kind of mellow. These people look a little bit too mellow, I think.
Well, Stuart, I wanted to ask, listening to the meditation, can you tell me what it looked like for you when you said, I think you said, breathe into their hearts, when you bring somebody, or you invite somebody that you want to send the healing energy toward? Me, I don't know, I usually don't stop at one person. I put up a lineup. Can you say what it looks like to you breathing into their hearts?
It's more a feeling and a sense of it, Peter. But I have like a feeling for their hearts, and I see their heart area, and I literally breathe in while I'm focusing on their heart area. But it's Baba's love. Does that answer you?
I'm thinking about it. So literally what you're doing is you're breathing in and focusing on their form and heart.
Well, but it's a feeling. It's more a feeling than the image. I find it fuller, richer, and the image helps absolutely, but I find when I do it, it is more a feeling, if that makes sense. So you see the image, because human beings work well with imagery, imagination, and that helps focus it. So one of my signs that I'm say pretty well in tune with something is I'll tend to naturally get a deep breath. So at times while doing this, I'm naturally getting deep breaths, and I often have my eyes closed too. I also have a favorite picture of Baba right next to my computer, and I'll glance over and I'll feel Baba in the picture, and I'll often get this deep breath just glancing over at him. So I'd say that there's a flow, Peter, with the imagery and the feeling. Does that make sense?
I have a challenging time feeling. So normally what I do is I go by the imagery first. Like, I follow directions the best I can to see where I can line up some kind of sensation. And I did another kind of meditation. That's what I'm reflecting upon. How, okay, I visualized until I could start feeling something tangible. So here I really couldn't feel much. So I was going by the visualization, just trusting it was working anyway. But I felt a disconnect when I'm breathing in and focusing on somebody else's heart energy or their full being. It's a little challenging, so I just go on trust that it's working. Hopefully, I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying focusing on their heart energy, because this is a delicate process in a way. It's to be done respectfully. Their heart is sacred space. All our hearts are sacred space, and I always want to have an intention and an awareness of sacredness in doing this. So not trying to enter into their heart energy or heart space. It's picturing Baba's infinite love flowing to them, if the distinction makes sense to you.
Well, when I say, like, sending them Meher Baba's love, to me, since that love is perfect, since to me, in a way, I'd rather do it that way, because if I start saying this is what I want for somebody, it's contaminated isn't really the best word, but who am I to know what's best for somebody else? So if I picture or intend on sending Meher Baba's love to them, to me, his love is perfect. He can do and go where is best for the person. So to me, it wouldn't matter what I focus on with them, the highest good will come of it, since it's him that's doing the work anyway. Does that make sense to you?
It does, and that's okay. We're all different. People experience things individually, and I welcome all of that, and I'm glad you're sharing this. I appreciate that, and I want to support you in your personal experience of it, and it seems like you have a good power of imagination inside, and you're picturing, and you never know what might come doing this. And I've experienced and witnessed just remarkable things take place. A friend of my girlfriend called about a week ago in great distress about her daughter. And this is a grown daughter, and there's a lot of turmoil and heartache. And so the friend could hardly listen, but I guided her the best I could into sending God's love to her daughter. And she is a religious woman, you know, connects with God. But she was kind of distracted, but she did it. And just this morning, she sent a message saying that she's been continuing doing it and things are really happening. Wow. And she didn't give detail, but it really touched my heart just to hear that. And we don't know what might happen at all, and nothing might happen. You know, you can't go into this with expectations or the intention of trying to change somebody or have any particular thing happen. But I'm just aware of, through my own experience working with others doing it, so much magic that's taken place, and hearing about it really touches the heart. And it often is good to continue to do it. And, you know, if nothing is meant to happen, then that'll be what happens, you know. And I've said, if Baba's love bounces off them, then so be it. You know, that's up to Baba. We're helping to focus on this, you know, for a time while doing this. You know, but Baba's love is the magic. It is infinite. And he knows. He knows what we all need.
Stuart?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something. The first time that I had this opportunity, I actually focused on someone who I was having resentments towards. And I really wanted to get out of that, whatever that glumpy stuff was that was holding me in resentment around a person. There was not really a need for it that I knew, you know, I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so what I did was then I just spent the time thinking of the love channeling towards that person. And it lifted this stuff out of me then. I didn't have to feel that way when I saw the person again. The resentments kind of just, you know, an opportunity came for service, and that was great. And I just felt the lifting of the resentment. I mean, things happened and the resentment has moved away from me, and I'm really grateful.
That's wonderful, Ruth. I love hearing that. You know, and I've known of so many stories of honestly conflict, like severe conflict, melting away. In fact, so years ago, it was in a professional training setting, and in the context of working with conflict in a spiritual kind of way. And the guy, there was a man who, one of the co-trainers, he taught us sending love to somebody else's heart in this kind of rudimentary way, you know. So I've expanded the meditation into what I led you through. And he told an example from his own life where he had treated a girlfriend really badly, and she was like basic instinct level furious with him. And to the point that she was disrupting where he was living in his apartment building, because she would just scream toward his building from the middle of the street. And his neighbors finally said, "Mark, you got to do something." So for about a month, he pictured her, and he just sent love. He just pictured love going to her heart. And as he taught it, all the way to the back of her heart, didn't tell her he was doing it, and he forgot about it. A few weeks later, he's living in a major European city, walking down the sidewalk, and here she comes. And when she sees him, she takes a running leap into his arms. There'd been such a profound change, and they both were so taken with the change that the conflict was gone. It had literally magically melted away, and they actually became a couple again for a while. The scrubbing and the transformation was so remarkable. So that was the first thing I ever heard of an example of this, and I said, oh my God. And then I started working with it myself. But I love that story.
Yeah, love them.
Now, we're taking a bit of a risk here, piggybacking on what, I don't remember what the lady's name is that spoke before, but she mentioned resentment. It's, whenever I feel resentment, which is often toward, let's just say, my boss, I made a practice of calling somebody up. It's a procedure, calling somebody up, telling them, and, asking God to remove it is in the same intention. And what I learned to do, and it's because who am I to think I know what's best for somebody, I just started saying japa, is repeating Mayor Baba's name and pointing it in the guy's direction. Now, as selfish as it may sound, I do want him to change. I do want him to be transformed, and I do want the situation to be transformed. And I know I'm still employed there. We're not on great terms, but we're still moving forward. But two things. I'll try and say this briefly. I listened to a program recently, and this man, who I think is in the know, talked about, this has been proven by scientists, where whatever we are neurotransmitters. We transmit frequencies, and whatever frequencies we transmit, power, regardless of how far they go, which they go infinitely far. So more and more I'm thinking to myself, when we are thinking about Mayor Baba, that I'm trusting more and more is going far and wide. It doesn't stop, it just keeps going. And I tend to think Mayor Baba's name is infinite power, packed with infinite energy, with perfect love, and it will transform everything in its path in some way, shape, or form. So again, it may be selfish of me wanting to change people, but that's why I use japa more, because to me it does it in a perfect way. I'm not going to see the change probably, but I just wanted to mention that practice. And also, I think the power of his name, I think, is understated often.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. That's a wonderful thing to bring up.
Ruth, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to share.
Hey, Rosalie.
If there's time.
Of course.
Yeah, well, I love the idea of a heart meditation. And this time it was very, and what I would send love to my heart, because even though I've been so many years and in my way loved Baba, I never felt my heart chakra was open. But that's a chakra. What do I know about chakras? But today it was interesting because I think Stuart says, well, take a look at your heart. And I was so surprised because, and Baba doesn't give me many experiences, like pretty point something. But I saw Baba in that space, and he was so relaxed. He was just so, he looked so at home. And I was surprised. And because, when you mention the heart, and I say, is the heart where my heart is, or is it in the jail, or where? And I thought, no, I can't do this. I just make it big. And so anyway, he was so relaxed. And I've had this feeling in my life. I thought, I've lived so long. I'm so drawn to Baba, wanting to hear all about him, meeting the beautiful Mandali, and just still like, but I didn't feel I was open at that heart level. And it's funny because Darwin Shaw, and I was in Berkeley, he came to give a talk, and I could feel Baba just from his voice. I remember that. So it's interesting, the connection to coming to effort and grace. But anyway, I'm very grateful. I think it's not so much like I'm very mental, and that's my problem, you know. But it's like Baba scooped me out of that, you know. And I loved that he was so relaxed, like not going anywhere, not going anywhere. Because my question was, that I've been asking is, where have you been all these years, Baba? Where have you been? So it's interesting, that whole relax. I didn't see him distinctly, but he was in his form, and it beautiful and relaxed. Anyway, Jai Baba, thank you.
Beautiful.
So
Thank
happy to hear that, Rosalie.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Rosalie. You are something. All right. I see Orang has a hand up. If you want to speak, Orang, you're unmuted.
I wanted to say one thing though. I thought of though about you say the infinite love, and it was so beautiful, infinite love coming through Baba's beautiful forms. Coming through his beautiful form, because we still have that form with us. Anyway.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Amen.
Orang, did you want to speak? Well, I don't know.
I'd like to go back to Peter for a minute, if we could.
Yeah.
Peter,
Oh.
there's
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Orang, just hold on a minute, Orang, okay?
Oh, sure. I'm get out.
Go ahead, Stuart.
Yeah, there is wonderful magic in Baba's name. You know, I'm in full agreement with you about doing that. You know, Baba said his name just carries his infinite power and love in it. You know, and doing the japa, that's great. I'd like to propose to you that you try sending love to your boss for a week, even 2 minutes at a time, and just do it and see if you notice anything. So I'd like to just propose that to you, but it's up to you.
Now, one thing I'm a little confused by, though, is you think that doing japa is different from sending him love?
I think they flow together. Yeah. But, you know, the kind of image I have, and I describe it, when I'm seeing the love flow, I tend to see this liquid golden light, you know, and coming from Meher Baba. And the imagery and the feeling that I have of it, that works together. But again, this is all individual. So I'm definitely not challenging you on it. I mean, on you know, using Baba's name on the japa.
Is there, this is something I'm very high on, because I used to think that I was very, very say, powerless, and in a way I am. What the Mondli, I think, have stated about how little power that they were like dust, truly dust, they realize, and that whatever was Mayor Baba's. So it's what I was doing more and more is because I don't feel like I can do much more is focusing in on, let's just say, either japa or, like you say, sending the love. It was outstanding to me the last couple of days listening to a program that's saying that whatever we transmit, depending on the power and intensity, goes all over. It doesn't go in a straight line necessarily, but goes in every direction. And it goes basically infinite length and the power sustained. And when I thought about this, it just blew my mind thinking that, oh my God, thinking about what everyone else is thinking about. And then if we are focusing on the path of Mayor Baba, it just, I just started looking at the CD player, DVD player, thinking, oh my God, the effect of doing a practice like we're doing, and actually nowadays I think is infinitely, or just the importance is greatly escalated. I think it's almost like I feel a sense of responsibility to do it for a certain amount of time every day. But Stuart, I hope you don't mind me asking, would you mind if we touch base about it offline too? Because I've been increasingly wanting to know more about mantras and their power, and it's starting to come. I'm starting to learn more about it, and what I'll just say it's another spiritual mentor of mine said. I said, well, what do you think the effect of it is? He says it's what's keeping the universe from blowing up. Mantras. And I said, oh wow, that's a good point. Anyway, I'll pass with that.
Yeah, no, we can be in touch.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So maybe
Can private
Jeff, if
chat.
We have
Yeah,
one
okay.
last person, I think. All
What's
right?
that, Jeff?
There's one last person who had their hand up.
I think it was Orang, and I think he's gone.
Ah,
So he's in India. So, no, he's in California. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's his, it may be lunchtime and he's gone to lunch. But, if you and Peter, you guys can private chat each other information if you want to do that before we finish here. Jeff, what are you waving? Dinner?
What's that?
What are you waving at? Dinner?
No, Adrian and Alan there.
Uh-huh.
How you guys doing?
There they are.
Yeah, we're suffering here incredibly.
I have.
So let's. Shall we have a few moments of silence before we jump back into the ocean of Maya? I mean, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
And thank you, Stu.
Yeah,
Thank
you,
you.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Jay
Thanks,
Baba.
everybody.
I had a dream about you last night.
What? Uh-oh.
And,
What was I up to?
Well, you were playing basketball, and you were basically playing basketball by yourself. You were shooting hoops, and then
at
you
the center, just by yourself, just playing basketball alone.
Nobody to play with.
So you were shooting hoops, and then every time you make a shot or something, you were like, I don't know, kind of animated like a kid. You'd be like, yeah.
Yes.
I was like, good job, Jeff. And then And then, but a few times you would shoot the ball and it would bounce off and it would kind of roll down to this sewer place. And it would go down to this sewer and you'd be like, my ball's gone. Well, now I got to get another one. And then you'd get another one and you'd shoot. And then you only had 3 though. And then on the third one, you lost it and it bounced again. It bounced into that sewage place, like underground sewer. And you were like, hey, Alan, can you help me get these things? I lost them in the sewer. And I was like, well, fine. I was like, and so I went over there, and it wasn't really like a sewer. It was sort of like an underground bunker, and it was like this very small crawl space. But I went in there, and when I went in there, I found only one of the basketballs, but there were all these. It was almost like an underground subway. And there's all these people and all these intense energies that were going by, and I was like trepidatious about. I was like, I don't know, but it was just sitting there. It was just sitting at the edge of where all these people were walking, and I grabbed it real fast, and I ran back, and you were kind of at the entrance, and you're like, did you get it? Did you get it? And I was like, yep, here you go, and I like threw it over to you. You're like, yeah. You're like, you're just like you were like just like a kid, and that was pretty much it. I don't know what it is, but it was.
Yeah. I did play high school basketball, and there is an experience, I mean, that I would experience in basketball where when you go up to shoot, you know, they say that when the Buddha shoots through you, you can tell when you're going to make a shot. There's an alignment. That's kind of thrilling.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I had a dream. I want to tell you my dream.
Yeah.
It wasn't about you.
Oh, good.
But it kind of reminded me, you kind of reminded me of it just now because of that experience we had at the center with the snake.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to anyone interpreting this dream, especially Rosalie, because I love every word that you say. Okay, so I'm walking around barefoot, and I'm feeling really great, and things are feeling good. And then I'm just in the forest, and I feel very confident in myself in this dream. And then I look down, and I notice that there's a snake. And then I look again, and I realize that where I'm walking is all snakes. And there's just snakes instead of leaves. There's snakes everywhere. And I'm trying to like jump and skip the snakes, and I'm like, don't want to hurt them, and I also don't want to get bit. And then it's really intense, and I start getting all of my confidence just kind of like, and I start like freaking out, and then I like woke up.
Wow.
And that was at the beginning of all of like, you know, like right after George Floyd was killed, and I think it was like right at the beginning of all of that. So any thoughts and I mean, no one has to interpret it. I just wanted to share it because I was jealous that Alan got to tell it and I didn't get to tell him.
Wait, can I add to that real quick? So Jeff, what happened was Jeff, Adrian.
Oh, you're going to give context
and Annie,
for why I'm bringing this up.
And Annie were at the center and we're walking, and I came across the snake.
No, the two of us were walking, and Jeff and Annie were over.
Yeah, and Jeff and Annie were up there, and we were walking on the path at the center. And I came across, I was just about to step on the snake.
Coming down towards
from Farm Shed.
Yeah, from Farm Shed.
And it had kind of a diamond shape, I don't know, something like that. And I was just about to step on it. I was like, oh, that's
a snake
in
the middle of the path.
Camouflaged snake. So we called Jeff over, and they took care of it. Well, when I got back from Myrtle Beach, I had this dream that snake.
You took over my dream with your dream.
That snake was actually in a little Ziploc, in a little kind of cloth pouch. And I was kind of nervous because it was in this cloth pouch, and I was trying to keep it in the pouch. So I tried to zip it closed. But when I went to zip, the snake's head came out and bit me right on the thumb. Bit me right on the thumb. And I was like, ah!
I cut my thumb
today. And so then I closed it, and so the snake was all in there, and I don't remember what happened. Well, the next day, I went to open the doorknob of my bathroom at the time, and the handle, which was made out of glass, some sort of hard glass or plastic material,
glass.
It just literally popped popped
Oh,
and it cut my thumb exactly right there.
Wow.
Where the snake is.
wow.
It just popped. I've never seen a door handle. It was very strange how it happened.
I cut my thumb today.
So, anyways, that
Yeah,
was
very.
Come on, guys. What's up? What is it? What does it all mean?
It's too bad. Annie's very good at interpreting dreams. But snakes actually have to do with energy, not sin. You know, I mean, the Christian idea is sin. You know, but it has to do with I don't know if you can see it in the context of your energy, your vitality. But I'm not good at interpreting dreams, but there might be someone else.
I just wanted to share. I just like sharing.
I just wanted to share because I felt like Alan got to share and I wanted to share.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with Jake, I had a dream about a snake, and someone told me it was because I was carrying twins, and I wasn't. I mean, Jake is the only baby that came out of my body. So
Very tall.
twins, yes, he is. He's like two people, yes.
Your son is Jake?
You're next to each other on our screen.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, did I meet you, Jake?
You're muted, Jake.
I don't think we've ever met besides these kind of meetings.
Well, he came to the North gathering when I came, but he wasn't allowed there yet.
Okay, I gotcha. So maybe in just passing.
Yeah.
One thing that I always think about dreams is it's elements from the subconscious that are making their first step. They first come down into the dream world, and eventually they come into your conscious life. And having disturbing dreams, I always feel, are a good sign, because normally that stuff is repressed. And when it starts to come in and it comes in the form of a nightmare or something disturbing,
That's interesting.
It just means that it's moving a little more forward, and it's gotten into the dream world. And then when it comes,
Where did he go?
His computer might have died.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, also snakes are supposed to be like a new birth because of the way they shed their skin. Is what I have heard.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's and also I heard the most powerful dreams are nightmares. Same thing.
I like have nightmares every night since I was a little kid. Like every now and then I'll have like a really blissful dream and I'll remember them, or like very infrequently I've had Baba dreams, but basically every other night it's like nightmares, and I wake up with like sleep paralysis a lot where I can't move my body and I'm like trapped. And then now that I have Alan, it's nice because I'll make these weird sounds. Like ever since I was a little kid, I have this condition where I wake up and then my body's paralyzed, but I'm awake. And but now that I have him, I'll wake him up and I'll go because I can't move my body. And then he'll start like smacking me because that's the only way to get me to wake up. It's horrible, but that makes me feel good. Like it's just part of my moving forward or something like that. Yeah, such an interesting moment.
I somehow disappeared there.
You did.
We heard. Did your computer die?
I don't know. I zoomed out. I had to zoom back in again.
We're glad you're back.
Love you.
Hey, well, I'm gonna eat some dinner. But great to see you, Paula, and Rick, and I saw earlier, and Larry and Ruth. Yeah, it's great. Here we are, you know.
It's great.
Here we is.
I know, and we're kind of making dinner just like we were in the refectory, and the conversation goes on.
And Jake, it's great to see that you and the kids, and there she is. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, hey, I'm going to read one thing that I read some of you weren't on yet. This discourse tonight was about momentum and inertia. So this is what Rumi says. Faith is the sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you to place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world. So as long as we're not making that internal effort, we just kind of, before you know it, you're in Walmart buying buying something you don't need. And sitting in one of those chairs that vibrate you and massage you. And you're nowhere when you come out. You don't want to drift with the tide of the world. Okay, see you guys.
See you later.
Jai Baba. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba, give love to Nan.
Yeah, will do. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.